The galaxy expected humanity's silence but heard the thunder of warships. Part 1. The Silent Species. The Galactic Council had watched Earth for 300 years. They studied humans from a safe distance, waiting patiently for the day when humanity would discover faster-than-light travel. The Council had done this thousands of times before with other species. They knew the patterns. They knew what to expect. Ambassador Thexlar sat in his observation chamber, reviewing the latest reports about humanity. He was a tall blue-skinned Vryn with forearms and wise ancient eyes. His job was to prepare for first contact with Earth. Everything he read made him smile with satisfaction. Another peaceful species, he said to his assistant. Look at their development. They fought wars in their past, yes, but now they work together. They build space stations. They explore their solar system with curiosity, not aggression. His assistant, a young Vryn named Kelxis, nodded eagerly. The scans show they have no natural weapons, Ambassador. No claws, no armor plating, no venom. They are soft creatures. Fragile, really. Thexlar pulled up images of Earth on his display screen. The blue planet looked peaceful from space. He could see cities glowing at night, satellites orbiting quietly, and a small collection of space stations near the moon. Their first faster-than-light ship is called Endeavor, he noted. Not warrior or conqueror. They named it after the spirit of discovery. This tells us everything we need to know. The Council had seen many species join the galactic community. Some were traders who loved commerce. Some were scientists who pursued knowledge. Some were artists who shared their culture. Very few were warriors. And those who were had obvious signs: biological weapons, aggressive expansion patterns, militaristic societies. Humanity showed none of these markers. We will welcome them warmly, Thexlar decided. They will make excellent researchers. Perhaps good merchants, too. The galaxy always needs more peaceful voices. 3 weeks later, the Council's first contact ship arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system, near Jupiter's orbit. They sent a message in mathematical language, the universal greeting that all intelligent species could understand. Within hours, a human ship approached. It was sleek and silver with the letters UES Endeavor painted on its hull. The meeting took place on neutral ground, a specially prepared space station that drifted between both ships. Ambassador Thexlar and his team floated through the airlock, eager to meet these new beings. The humans were already waiting in the meeting chamber. Ambassador Maria Rodriguez stood at the head of the human delegation. She was a middle-aged woman with dark hair pulled back tightly, wearing a crisp blue uniform. Her eyes were bright with emotion as she stepped forward to greet Thexlar. On behalf of humanity and the nation of Earth, we welcome you, she said, her voice thick with feeling. We have dreamed of this moment for so long. To know we are not alone in the universe, it changes everything. Thexlar was pleased by her words. She seemed genuine, warm, and peaceful. We welcome you to the galactic community, he replied. You have taken your first steps into a much larger universe. There is much to learn, much to share. The first contact meeting lasted for hours. The humans asked many questions, and Thexlar answered them patiently. He explained how the Galactic Council worked, a democratic body where peaceful species resolve disputes through dialogue and cooperation. He described the major civilizations, the wise Mentari, the industrious Beltharans, the scientific Delthani, and his own people, the diplomatic Vryn. But then Rodriguez asked about threats. Are there dangers in the galaxy? Species that might be hostile? Thexlar hesitated. He did not want to frighten these newcomers, but honesty was important. There are some challenges. The Kresh Dominion, for example. They are an aggressive empire that sometimes raids our borders, but the Council manages these situations. We have defense fleets. We negotiate. We find peaceful solutions when possible. And when peaceful solutions are not possible, asked one of the human military officers, a stern-looking man named General Patterson. Then we defend ourselves as best we can, Thexlar admitted. Though I must be honest, the Council has struggled against the Kresh. They are powerful warriors, and we are not. Most Council species evolved as prey animals or peaceful gatherers. We rely on technology and numbers, not combat skill. He noticed something change in the humans' expressions. Rodriguez's face became thoughtful, almost calculating. Patterson and the other military officers exchanged meaningful glances. They began asking more specific questions about Council military capabilities, fleet sizes, weapon technologies, the location of Kresh territory, Recent attack patterns, Thexler answered truthfully. The question seemed academic, the natural curiosity of a new species learning about their neighborhood. But later, when he reviewed the conversation, he would realize his mistake. The humans had not been making small talk. They had been conducting a military intelligence briefing. After the first meeting ended, Rodriguez made a request. Ambassador Thexlar, we would like to apply for membership in the Galactic Council. We wish to contribute to the galactic community as full partners. Thexlar smiled apologetically. I understand your eagerness, Ambassador Rodriguez, but council membership requires time. New species must prove themselves first. You must establish trade relationships, demonstrate cultural stability, show that you can contribute meaningfully to galactic affairs. This process usually takes 50 to 100 years. He expected disappointment, perhaps some diplomatic protest. Some species argued, some sulked, some reluctantly accepted. But the humans did something unexpected. Rodriguez simply nodded. I understand. Thank you for your time, Ambassador. We will be in touch. Her face was neutral, unreadable. She shook his hand, a human gesture he had learned about, and her grip was firm, controlled. Then the human delegation departed, returning to their ship. In the following weeks, humanity sent polite messages to the Council. They established basic trade agreements. They shared some scientific data. They seemed to be following the normal path of integration. Then quietly, their communications became less frequent. Their ships stopped visiting Council space. They withdrew to their home system. The Council was not concerned. This happened sometimes. New species became overwhelmed by the reality of galactic civilization. They needed time to process, to adjust, to prepare themselves psychologically for their new place in the universe. The humans would emerge when they were ready, probably as humble junior members eager to learn from their elders. Thexlar filed his final report. Humanity, peaceful, curious, scientifically oriented, withdrew to home system for cultural adjustment period. Low priority. Recommend standard integration protocols in 20-30 years. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Kresh Dominion grew bolder. They destroyed a small colony world, killing millions. They raided trade convoys. They pushed deeper into Council territory. The Council's defense fleets were stretched thin, struggling to protect their vast borders with limited military capability. Emergency sessions were called. Resources were diverted to defense. Fear spread among the peaceful species of the Council, and still humanity remained silent in their home system. The galaxy expected that silence to continue. They expected humanity to hide, to wait, to hope the danger would pass them by. They expected Earth to remain a minor curiosity, a new species too overwhelmed to matter. They were wrong. In the darkness of the Sol system, around Earth and Mars and the asteroid belt, something was being built. Shipyards worked day and night. Factories produced weapons that combined centuries of human theoretical warfare with brand new alien technology. Military academies trained officers in tactics no one in the galaxy had ever seen. Humanity had gone silent, yes. But they were not hiding. They were not adjusting. They were not overwhelmed. They were preparing. And soon the galaxy would hear something far louder than silence. They would hear the thunder of warships, and nothing would ever be the same again. 6 months had passed since humanity withdrew to their home system. In that time, the galaxy had grown darker and more dangerous. The Kresh Dominion, emboldened by the Council's weakness, launched attack after attack. Small colonies fell. Trade routes became death traps. Fear spread like a disease through Council space. On the bridge of his warship, Kresh Warmaster Drakthar studied the tactical display with satisfaction. Below him on the screen was Belthara Prime, a beautiful green and blue world home to 12 billion Beltharans. The peaceful insect-like beings had built a prosperous civilization over thousands of years. Now in a single day, Drakthar would end it all. 300 warships, he growled to his officers. His scaled face twisted into what passed for a smile among the Kresh. The Council fleet has only 100 ships defending this world. They are already broken, scattered. This will be easy. His fleet moved into attack formation. Massive dreadnoughts took the lead, their weapons charging with deadly energy. Fighter craft swarmed around them like angry insects. The Kresh were natural warriors, 7 feet tall, covered in armored scales with 4 arms built for combat. They had conquered dozens of worlds. Belthara Prime would be just another trophy. Below, on the planet's surface, millions of Beltharans huddled in shelters. They broadcast final messages to loved ones across the galaxy. Parents held their children close. The elderly prepared for the end with quiet dignity. They had known this day might come. The Council fleet had fought bravely, but bravery meant little against superior numbers. Commander Zixel led what remained of the Council Defense Force. His ship was heavily damaged, leaking atmosphere from a dozen holes. Half his fleet was destroyed. The rest were barely functional. He opened a channel to Belthera Prime. "I am sorry," he said simply. "We fought as hard as we could. May your spirits find peace in the beyond." On the planet below, people wept. They had minutes left, perhaps seconds. The Kresh weapons began their firing sequence. Energy built up in massive cannons, enough power to crack a planet's crust and boil its oceans. Then something impossible happened. The stars disappeared. At first, both the Kresh and Council forces thought their sensors had failed. The view screens went dark. But this was not a malfunction. Something massive had appeared between the Kresh fleet and Belthera Prime, something so large it blocked out the light of distant stars. "What is that?" Drakthar demanded, his confidence cracking. "Identify those ships." His sensor officer worked frantically. "Sir, I'm reading. Hundreds of vessels. Unknown design. They just appeared out of nowhere. They're positioning themselves in defensive formation around the planet. The darkness resolved into shapes, warships, hundreds upon hundreds of them, arranged in perfect military precision. They were sleek and angular, with clean lines that spoke of advanced engineering. Their hulls were painted in gray and black, with markings in a language the Kresh had never seen. But there was one word they could identify: Earth. A voice cut across all communication frequencies. It was calm, controlled, and absolutely commanding. "Kresh Dominion forces, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Fleet. You will cease your attack immediately and withdraw from this system. You have 30 seconds to comply. This is your only warning." Drakthar stared at the screen in disbelief. Earth, those primitive creatures? They dare threaten the Dominion? He laughed, a harsh grating sound. "They must have bought some old ships from the Council. They think they can frighten us with numbers." He opened a channel to the human fleet. "Unknown vessels, you are interfering with Kresh military operations. Withdraw or be destroyed. We are warriors. You are nothing." There was a pause. When Admiral Chen spoke again, her voice had changed. It was colder now, harder. "War Master Drakthar, we know exactly what you are. We have studied your tactics, your history, your methods. We have seen what you do to innocent civilians. That ends today." Drakthar's pride burned. How dare these newcomers speak to him this way? "All ships attack. Show these humans the price of defiance." The Kresh fleet surged forward, weapons blazing. Energy beams and missiles streaked toward the human formation. It was an overwhelming assault, enough firepower to vaporize a small moon. The human ships moved. They did not scatter in panic like Council forces usually did. They did not attempt to run. Instead, they shifted into a new formation with mechanical precision, each ship knowing exactly where to go. Point defense systems activated, thousands of small cannons that tracked incoming fire with computer accuracy. Missiles were shot down before they could reach their targets. Energy beams hit shields that flared and held. Then the humans returned fire. The galaxy had never seen weapons like these. Railguns accelerated metal slugs to nearly the speed of light. The projectiles hit Kresh ships with devastating force, punching through armor that had withstood Council weapons for years. Missiles equipped with artificial intelligence dodged defensive fire, adjusted their approach, and struck at weak points with surgical precision. Energy weapons cut through Kresh shields like they were made of paper. The battle space lit up with fire and destruction. But it was not the human ships that were dying. Drakthar watched in horror as his fleet was torn apart. Ship after ship exploded or went dark, their systems destroyed. His experienced warriors, veterans of 100 battles, fought desperately, but the humans fought with a terrible efficiency. Every shot found its mark. Every tactic had a counter. It was like fighting an opponent who knew every move before you made it. "Impossible!" Drakthar screamed. "They are a new species. How can they fight like this?" His tactical officer had no answers. The Kresh were being systematically destroyed. 300 warships against a few hundred human vessels should have been an easy victory. Instead, it was a massacre, and the Kresh were the victims. Commander Zixel and the surviving Council forces watched in stunned amazement. The humans moved through the battlefield like dancers, like artists creating a terrible masterpiece. Their coordination was perfect. Their discipline was absolute. They fought with a skill that came from deep understanding of warfare. Where did they learn this? Zixel whispered. They are only centuries old. It took us thousands of years to develop our combat doctrines. His science officer had been analyzing human communications. Commander, I think I understand. Their language contains thousands of words for warfare. Their history files show constant conflict, wars, battles, struggles for survival. They have been fighting since they learned to stand upright. For them, warfare is not a skill to learn. It is part of their nature. The battle lasted only 17 minutes. When it ended, the Kresh invasion fleet was destroyed. 300 warships reduced to debris and lifeless hulls. The few survivors fled in panic, broadcasting warnings about the terrifying new species that had appeared from nowhere. The human fleet had not lost a single ship. Admiral Chen opened a channel to Belthara Prime. Her voice was gentle now, completely different from the command tone she had used with the Kresh. People of Belthara, you are safe. The threat has been eliminated. We are transmitting medical supplies and repair crews to your surface. Is there anything else you need? On the planet below, 12 billion Beltharans stood in shock. They had been seconds from death. Now they were saved by strangers they had never met. The planetary governor finally found his voice. Who are you? Why did you help us? We are humanity, Chen replied. And we helped you because it was the right thing to do. Because no one should have to face extinction alone. Because we remember what it feels like to be afraid, and we decided that no one else should feel that fear if we can prevent it. She paused, then added, The United Earth Fleet stands with you. We stand with all peaceful species. No one will harm you while we have the strength to protect you. Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. The quiet species, the ones who had withdrawn in silence, had returned. But they had not come back as humble applicants hoping for council membership. They had come back as protectors, as warriors, as something the galaxy had never seen before. In the council chambers, emergency sessions were called. Ambassador Thexlar stood before his peers trying to explain how he had been so wrong. The humans were not peaceful researchers. They were not simple traders. They were something far more dangerous and far more valuable. They were warriors who fought not for conquest but for justice. Soldiers who protected the weak instead of preying upon them. A species that had mastered the art of war and chose to use it in defense of peace. The galaxy had expected humanity's silence. They had received thunder instead, the thunder of warships arriving to stand between the innocent and those who would harm them. And that thunder would echo across the stars for generations to come. On Earth, in the Fleet Command Center, Admiral Chen looked at the tactical displays showing human ships spreading across council space. Each one was moving to protect a vulnerable world, to patrol a trade route, to stand watch over those who could not defend themselves. We're not asking for permission anymore, she said quietly to her staff. We're not waiting for approval. The galaxy needs protection, and we're going to provide it. Let them figure out the politics later. Her second-in-command nodded. What if the council tries to stop us? Chen smiled grimly. Then The Galactic Council chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives from 200 species shouted over each other, their voices creating a wall of sound that echoed off the ancient crystal walls. At the center of it all stood Ambassador Thexlar, the Vryn diplomat who had assured everyone that humanity was peaceful and harmless. You told us they were no threat, screamed Councillor Yixthar, a small tentacled being whose entire body quivered with rage. You said they were researchers.
Scientists!
Now they have a war fleet that destroyed 300 Kresh ships without losing a single vessel. Thexlar's blue skin had turned pale. I reported what I observed. Their initial contact showed no signs of military aggression. How was I to know? You should have known, interrupted Representative Qualvex, slamming 3 of his 6 hands on his desk. You are supposed to be our expert on new species. You failed. Completely. Elder Sofrix of the Mentari raised one crystalline hand and the chamber gradually fell silent. The Mentari were the oldest species in the council, wise and patient. When Sofrix spoke, everyone listened. Shouting solves nothing, Sofrix said calmly. Her voice was like wind chimes, musical and clear. Let us examine the facts. Yes, humanity has revealed military capabilities far beyond what we expected. But what have they done with this power? The chamber grew quiet. Sofrix continued. After destroying the Kresh fleet at Belthera, what did the humans do? Did they demand tribute? Did they claim the planet for themselves? Did they threaten us? They offered medical aid, admitted Governor Kelthin of Belthara, who had traveled to attend this emergency session. They sent supplies. They helped repair our orbital stations. They asked for nothing in return. Nothing? Questioned Councillor Yixthar suspiciously. No one gives military protection for free. There must be a price. Kelthin shook his head. Admiral Chen was very clear. She said they helped because it was right, because peaceful beings should not have to fear extinction. Those were her exact words. Pretty words, muttered Yixthar. But words are cheap. Actions reveal truth. Give them time and they will show their real intentions. As if summoned by the discussion, a message arrived. A human ship was requesting permission to dock. Ambassador Rodriguez wished to address the council. The chamber filled with nervous energy. Some councillors wanted to refuse the request. Others argued that would be insulting to a species with such powerful weapons. Finally, Elder Sofrix made the decision. Let her come. We must face this situation directly, not hide from it like frightened children. An hour later, Ambassador Maria Rodriguez walked into the council chamber. She wore the same crisp blue uniform as before, and she walked with confident steps, but her expression was open and friendly, not threatening. She bowed respectfully to the assembled representatives. Honored councillors, thank you for seeing me, she began. I know there are many questions about my people. I hope to answer them today. Why did you build a war fleet? Demanded Yixthar immediately. You were supposed to be integrating peacefully into galactic society. Rodriguez did not seem offended by the harsh tone. We built a fleet because we saw a need. You told us about the Kresh Dominion. You described their attacks, their cruelty, their disregard for innocent life. You also told us that the Council struggled to defend against them. That does not explain the scale of your response, said Councillor Thexler quietly, or the advanced nature of your weapons. Rodriguez nodded. You are right. Let me explain something about humanity. She activated a holographic display showing Earth from space. This is our world. Beautiful, is it not? But if you look closer at our history, you will see something else. The display changed, showing images from Earth's past. Wars, battles, destruction, weapons of terrible power. The council members watched in growing horror as centuries of human conflict played out before them. We are a species born in struggle, Rodriguez said softly. For thousands of years, we fought each other. We built weapons. We perfected tactics. We studied warfare like other species study art or science. We nearly destroyed ourselves many times. This is supposed to make us feel better? Asked Yixthar nervously. No, Rodriguez replied. It is supposed to make you understand. We know war. We know its cost, its horror, its terrible necessity. We know what it means to lose people we love to violence. We know what it feels like to be afraid, to be helpless, to watch as those with power hurt those without it. She changed the image to show more recent human history. Peace treaties, reconciliation ceremonies, former enemies working together. But we also learned from our mistakes. We learned that strength without compassion is tyranny. We learned that the strong have a duty to protect the weak. We learned that peace is not weakness. It is the hardest thing to achieve and the most valuable thing to maintain. Elder Sofrix leaned forward with interest. So when you withdrew to your system after we denied you council membership, we were not sulking, Rodriguez finished. We were building. You told us about the Kresh threat and we realized something. The galaxy needed protectors and we had the knowledge to become those protectors. So we took everything we learned from our violent past and channeled it into something better. You could have asked for our help, suggested Thexler. We could have worked together on defense. Rodriguez smiled sadly. With respect, Ambassador, you did not even grant us basic membership. Why would you share military technology with newcomers you did not trust? No, we had to do this ourselves. And we had advantages you did not. Centuries of warfare theory, aggressive military doctrine, and a willingness to accept that sometimes violence is necessary to stop greater violence. The chamber was silent for a moment. Then Councillor Rekvan of the Delthani spoke up. You say you want to protect the galaxy, but protection can become control very easily. How do we know you will not become the next Kresh Dominion? It was the question everyone was thinking. Rodriguez met Rekvan's eyes directly. You do not know. You must take a risk just as we took a risk when we revealed ourselves. But I can tell you this. We have established a doctrine called the Terran Mandate. Would you like to hear it? Elder Sufrix nodded. Please, Rodriguez recited from memory. The Terran Mandate states, Earth forces will defend any peaceful species threatened by aggression. We will not claim territory. We will not demand payment. We will not interfere in internal politics. We will protect, and when the danger passes, we will leave. Our only requirement is that those we protect work toward peaceful coexistence with their neighbors. Why? Asked Governor Kelthin. Why would you do this? Because we can, Rodriguez said simply. Because we have the strength, the knowledge, and the will. Because we remember what it is like to be weak and afraid. Because every species deserves the chance to grow and develop without fear of extinction. Because it is right. She paused, then added, and perhaps because we hope that by protecting others we can atone for the violence of our own past. We cannot undo the wars we fought on Earth, but we can ensure that other species do not suffer the way we did. The council chamber buzzed with quiet conversation. Representatives consulted with each other, debated, argued. Finally, Elder Sofrix called for order once more. Ambassador Rodriguez, the council must discuss this matter privately. But I have one more question. You say you will protect peaceful species. What about the Kresh? They are a warrior culture. Will you try to destroy them completely? Rodriguez shook her head firmly. No, we will stop their aggression. We will defend their victims. But we will not commit genocide. Even warriors deserve the chance to change, to choose a better path. We will give them that choice, stop attacking innocents or face defeat. But always, they will have a choice. She looked around the chamber at all the different species represented there. We are not heroes from your legends. We are not perfect beings here to save you. We are flawed, complicated humans who have made terrible mistakes. But we are trying to do better. We are trying to use our strength for good. All we ask is the chance to prove ourselves through our actions. With that, Rodriguez bowed again and left the chamber. The council representatives sat in stunned silence. They had expected many things from humanity. Demands, threats, ultimatums. Instead, they had received a philosophy, a promise, and a challenge to be better. Elder Sofrix was the first to speak. We have a decision to make. Do we accept humanity's protection? Do we try to stop them? Do we work with them as partners? I do not think we can stop them, admitted Counselor Thexelar. Their military technology is decades ahead of ours, perhaps centuries, and they have shown no signs of aggression toward us. But can we trust them? Asked Yixthar, though his tone was less hostile now. Can they trust us? Countered Sofrix. Remember, we rejected their initial request for membership. We dismissed them as unimportant. Yet when we needed help, they came anyway. Perhaps the question is not whether we can trust them, but whether we deserve their trust. Governor Kelthin stood up. I speak for Belthara when I say this. The humans saved 12 billion of my people. They asked for nothing. They simply helped. I trust them, and I vote to work with them as allies. One by one, other representatives began to voice their opinions. The debate would continue for days, but a consensus was forming. Humanity had revealed itself. War Master Vrick stood in the command center of the Kresh Dominion's greatest fortress, staring at the reports with cold calculation. Unlike his predecessor Drakthar, who had been proud and reckless, Vrix was patient and cunning. He had studied the humans carefully, analyzing every battle recording, every tactical decision, every weakness he could find. They are strong, he admitted to his officers, but they are not invincible. They have one fatal weakness: they care too much. His second-in-command, a scarred warrior named Krix, tilted his head in confusion. Caring is a weakness? When you try to protect everyone, you protect no one effectively, Vrix explained. He brought up a star map showing council space. The humans have spread their fleet across dozens of systems. They guard trade routes, protect colony worlds, patrol borders. They have made themselves responsible for the entire galaxy. He smiled, revealing rows of sharp teeth. So we will make them pay for that responsibility. We will attack everywhere at once. They cannot be in all places. They will have to choose who lives and who dies. And when they are stretched thin, tired, and desperate, we will strike at their heart. Krix understood now. A war of attrition. We have more ships, more warriors, more worlds to draw resources from. The humans are only one species. Exactly, Vrick said. Let them play hero. Heroes die tired and alone, mourning the ones they could not save. 3 weeks later, the Kresh Dominion launched their counterattack. It was brutal and coordinated. 17 star systems came under assault simultaneously. Mining colonies, agricultural worlds, research stations, trading hubs. Everywhere humans had placed protective fleets, the Kresh attacked with overwhelming force. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Thunderchild, watching the tactical display with growing dread. Red warning lights lit up across the map, each one representing a system under attack. Her fleet was scattered, fighting in multiple locations, and reports were coming in fast. "Admiral, the Kepler Expanse is under heavy assault," reported her communications officer. "Commander Jackson requests immediate reinforcements." "Reinforcements from where?" Chen asked grimly. "Every ship we have is engaged." Another alert sounded. "The Tarsus mining colonies are being overrun. They have only 2 frigates defending 5 million civilians." Chen's hands gripped the edge of her command console. This was the nightmare scenario they had feared. The Kresh were not trying to win territory. They were trying to break the human spirit by forcing impossible choices. "Prioritize systems by civilian population," she ordered. "Military installations will have to defend themselves. Move all available ships to protect population centers." Her tactical officer looked up with concern. "Admiral, that means abandoning the shipyards at Kepler. We will lose our repair facilities." "Then we lose them," Chen said firmly. "Ships can be rebuilt. People cannot be brought back from the dead." "Execute the order." Across the galaxy, human commanders made similar painful decisions. They abandoned strategic positions to save civilians. They sacrificed valuable resources to protect the helpless. Every choice was agony, but they never hesitated. The Terran mandate was clear: protect the innocent no matter the cost. At the Kepler Expanse, Commander James Jackson watched as his squadron of 12 ships faced a Kresh fleet of 60 warships. The odds were impossible. His tactical display showed 5-1 against them, and the enemy had learned from previous defeats. They were using swarm tactics, sacrificing smaller ships to overwhelm human defenses. "Sir, we cannot hold them all," Lieutenant Park reported from the tactical station. Her voice was steady despite the fear in her eyes. "They are willing to trade 3 ships for every one of ours." Jackson looked at the planet below. 2 million Delthani civilians were evacuating frantically, loading onto transport ships as fast as they could. But evacuation took time. Time his squadron had to buy with their lives. "Then we make them pay dearly for every exchange," Jackson said calmly. He opened a fleet-wide channel. "All ships, this is the commander. We have been given a simple job. Keep those people alive long enough to escape. I do not care about the odds. I do not care about the cost. We hold this line until every civilian is safely away. Is that understood?" "Yes, sir," came the unified response from 11 other ship captains. "Good," Jackson said. "Now let us show these Kresh what humanity means when we say no one gets left behind. All ships, battle formation Delta, and someone start the music." A moment later, an old Earth song began playing on the fleet communication channel, a military march from centuries ago. The Kresh intercepted the broadcast and were confused by the strange sounds. Why were these humans playing music while facing certain death? They did not understand that humans had always gone to war with songs. It reminded them of home, of what they fought for, of the bonds between them. As the music played, Jackson's squadron fought with fierce determination that bordered on madness. The UES Valiant rammed a Kresh cruiser to save a transport full of evacuees. The UES Defiant, with engines destroyed and life support failing, kept firing until her last weapon went silent. The UES Marathon fought for 3 hours straight, her captain refusing to retreat even when her ship was falling apart around her. Commander Jackson's own ship, the UES Indomitable, was the last one standing. His hull was breached in 14 places. Half his crew was dead or injured. His weapons were nearly depleted. But the evacuation was 95% complete. Just a few more minutes. "Sir, we have a Kresh dreadnought moving to intercept the last transport," Lieutenant Park reported. "We cannot stop it with our remaining weapons." Jackson did not hesitate. "Helm set collision course with that dreadnought." "Full speed, sir?" the helmsman asked, uncertain he had heard correctly. "You heard me," Jackson said calmly. "All hands, this is the commander. Abandon ship. Get to the escape pods. That is an order." "What about you, sir?" Park asked. Jackson smiled. "Someone needs to fly this ship. Go. Tell them we held the line." As his crew evacuated, Jackson aimed the Indomitable at the massive Kresh dreadnought. His ship was tiny in comparison, but at full speed it would have enough kinetic energy to cripple the larger vessel. He thought about his family back on Earth, about the Delthani children who would live because of this moment, about the principle that was worth dying for, that the strong protect the weak, always no matter the cost. "Tell them we held the line," he whispered, and slammed his ship into the dreadnought at full speed. The explosion lit up space like a new star, but Jackson's sacrifice was not unique that day. Across 17 star systems, human crews performed similar acts of courage. They fought against impossible odds. They made stands that military historians would study for generations. They suffered terrible losses. Ships destroyed, crews killed, heroes who would never come home. Yet they held. Every civilian population they were assigned to protect was saved. Not one was abandoned. The Kresh paid a heavy price for their strategy. For every human ship destroyed, they lost 4 of their own. The humans fought with a skill born from centuries of warfare, and a determination that came from deeply held principles. They were tired, yes. Hurt, yes. But not broken. Admiral Chen received the casualty reports with a heavy heart. 38 ships lost. Thousands of crew members dead. Commander Jackson was gone, along with many other fine officers. But she also saw the other numbers. 18 million civilians saved. 0 population centers lost. Enemy fleet strength reduced by 40%. "They think they can break us by making us choose," she said quietly to her staff. "They do not understand that we already made our choice. We chose to protect others, whatever the cost, and we will keep making that choice." But humanity did more than just fight. Even as the battle raged, they taught. Admiral Chen personally worked with Council military leaders through secure communications, sharing tactical knowledge, explaining human strategies, showing them how to adapt their own forces for better defense. "You rely too much on defensive positions," she explained to a group of Council admirals during a brief pause in the fighting. "You must be mobile, aggressive when necessary. Your ships are designed to avoid conflict. They need to be ready to engage it." She shared technical data, training programs, tactical doctrines, everything humanity had learned about warfare. Some Council species were shocked by her generosity. They were at war, yet she was giving away military secrets. "Knowledge is not power if unused," Chen explained. "Together we are stronger. The Kresh cannot defeat a unified galaxy that knows how to fight back." The Council forces began to change. They studied human tactics. They modified their ships based on human designs. They trained their officers in human military academies that had been quickly established on neutral worlds. Slowly, they learned to fight not just defensively, but effectively. By the 6th week of the Kresh assault, something remarkable was happening. When the Kresh attacked a Beltheran convoy, it was defended not just by human ships, but by Beltheran cruisers using human shield harmonics and firing patterns. When they raided a Vryn colony, they found Vryn defense forces that fought with coordinated tactics they had learned from human instructors. The galaxy was learning to protect itself. War Master Vrix watched these developments with growing frustration. His strategy had been perfect. He should have been winning. The warning came 3 days before the attack. A damaged Kresh scout ship, its crew dead, was found drifting near Council space. Its computers contained battle plans that made Admiral Chen's blood run cold. Every Kresh ship, every warrior, every weapon was being directed to one target, the Council homeworld of Sanctuary Prime. "It is a suicide mission," said Elder Selfrix, her crystalline form reflecting the light in the Council war room. "War Master Vrix knows he cannot win a long war, so he gambles everything on one strike." Admiral Chen studied the projections. The numbers were staggering. 4,000 Kresh warships against their combined defense fleet of 1,500 vessels. Even with human training and technology, the odds were terrible. "If Sanctuary Prime falls, the Council government collapses," said Councillor Thexelar quietly. 5 trillion beings across 200 worlds will be left without leadership, without coordination. The alliance will shatter. "Then we do not let it fall," Chen said firmly. She opened communications to every human ship and every Council vessel in range. "All forces converge on Sanctuary Prime. We make our stand there. No retreats, no second chances. We win or we lose everything." Across the galaxy, ships began moving toward Sanctuary Prime. Human cruisers broke off from patrol duties. Beltheran defense forces left their home systems for the first time in their history. Vryn diplomatic vessels that had been converted to warships joined the fleet. Delthani science ships equipped with weapons they never thought they would use. Every species, every ship, every being that could fight was coming. On the bridge of the UES Thunderchild, Admiral Chen stood beside Elder Sofrix. The ancient Mentari had insisted on being present for the battle, saying that leaders must stand with those they lead. "You changed us," Sofrix said quietly, looking at the tactical displays. "For 10,000 years, the Council maintained peace through dialogue and patience. We believed that aggression was primitive, that true civilization meant rising above conflict. And now?" Chen asked. "Now we understand that peace is not the absence of strength," Sofrix replied. "It is strength used wisely. You did not teach us to be violent. You taught us that protecting what we love requires courage, sacrifice, and yes, sometimes war." Chen nodded. "Every species here has warriors, heroes, and protectors. You just needed someone to remind you of that truth." The Kresh fleet arrived like a storm. Thousands upon thousands of warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, filling space with their numbers. At their center was the massive command dreadnought where War Master Vrix directed operations. This was everything the Dominion had, their entire military might concentrated in one desperate assault. Vrix opened a communication channel to the defenders. "This is your end. We will destroy your government, shatter your alliance, and remind the galaxy that strength comes from conquest, not cooperation. Prepare to—" He stopped. His sensors were showing something impossible. The defense fleet was much larger than intelligence had reported. Not 1,500 ships, but 3,000. Every council species had contributed vessels. Former merchant ships had been armed. Civilian craft had been converted to support roles. And at the heart of the formation, human warships stood like a wall of steel. But that was not what silenced Vrix. It was the formation itself. The combined fleet was not arranged in the typical council defensive pattern. They were in a human battle formation, aggressive, coordinated, designed not just to defend but to destroy. "They learned," Vrix whispered. "They all learned." Admiral Chen's voice cut across all channels. "War Master Vrix, you have come here expecting to find weak, frightened beings who would scatter before your might. But look at what stands against you. Beltharans who survived your bombardment of their world, Fryn whose convoys you destroyed, Tilthani whose research stations you burned, and humans who traveled across the stars to ensure that bullies like you never again threatened the innocent." She paused, then continued with steel in her voice. "This is your last chance. Withdraw now. Return to your space. Choose a different path, or we will end your dominion today." Vrix's pride burned. He had committed everything to this moment. Retreat was impossible. "All ships, attack! For the Dominion! For glory!" The Kresh fleet surged forward, and the largest space battle in galactic history began. The opening exchange was devastating. Kresh ships crashed into the defensive lines like waves against a cliff. But this time the cliff did not break. Council cruisers using human shield harmonics absorbed damage that would have destroyed them months ago. Beltharan fighters flew in human-taught formations, covering each other with practiced precision. Vryn vessels targeted Kresh weak points with accuracy, born from human tactical training. And the human ships fought with the terrible efficiency they had displayed from the beginning. Every shot calculated, every movement coordinated. They were the heart of the defense, the core around which the entire Allied fleet rallied. "Their left flank is weakening," reported Lieutenant Park, who had survived the Kepler Expanse battle and been promoted to Chen's tactical officer. "Recommend concentrated fire." "Negative," Chen said calmly. "That is a feint. Vrix is trying to pull us out of position. All ships maintain formation. Focus on their center. We break their command structure, the fleet will collapse." She was right. The Kresh pulled back their left flank, trying to lure defenders into a trap. When the Allied fleet did not take the bait, Vrix's strategy failed. His forces had to commit to a direct assault, exactly what Chen wanted. The battle raged for hours. Space was filled with fire, debris, and the silent screams of dying ships. Both sides suffered terrible losses. The Kresh had numbers, but the defenders had unity, skill, and most importantly, purpose. They fought not for conquest or glory, but for survival and for each other. At the battle's peak, Vrix himself led a desperate assault toward Sanctuary Prime. His command dreadnought and 100 escort ships broke through a weak point in the defense. Racing toward the planet below where 5 trillion civilians sheltered, Admiral Chen saw the danger immediately. "All human ships intercept course. We stop them here." The Thunderchild and 30 other human warships positioned themselves directly in Vrix's path. It was a suicide formation. They would absorb the assault meant for billions below, but they could not survive the exchange. "Admiral," said Sufrix quietly, "you will die." "Then we die well," Chen replied. "But those people will live. That is what matters." The human ships opened fire, pouring everything they had into the approaching Kresh vessels. Their shields flared and died under the return bombardment. Hulls cracked. Systems failed, but they did not move. They held their position, a wall between the innocent and those who would harm them. Then something unexpected happened. The Beltheran fleet, led by Governor Kelthin himself, joined the human formation. "We stand with you," Kelthin announced. "You saved our world. Now we save yours." The Vryn ships moved into position. "We stand with you." The Delthani added their vessels. "We stand with you." One by one, every species in the council joined the desperate defense. They formed a living shield around the human ships, protecting those who had taught them to protect themselves. The galaxy had learned humanity's lesson, that true strength comes from standing together, from protecting each other, from refusing to let evil triumph. The combined firepower was overwhelming. Vrix's assault broke against the unified defense. His dreadnought, damaged beyond repair, began to drift. Across the battlefield, Kresh ships saw their leader fall and their courage failed. They had never faced an enemy that fought with such coordination, such determination, such absolute refusal to surrender. The Kresh fleet broke. Those ships that could still move fled, scattering in all directions. The Dominion, which had terrorized the galaxy for generations, was shattered in a single day. In the aftermath, as rescue ships moved through the debris and medical teams worked frantically to save the wounded, the Council convened one final emergency session. There was no debate this time, no arguments or political maneuvering. Elder Sofrix made the announcement personally. "Ambassador Rodriguez, humanity has proven itself not through words but through actions. You stood between the innocent and those who would harm them. You taught us to do the same. The Council unanimously offers humanity full membership, with the position of protector, a role created specifically for your people." Rodriguez, who had traveled to Sanctuary Prime for the battle, stood in the council chambers. Around her, representatives from every species present rose in respect. She felt the weight of what humanity had accomplished, but also the weight of future responsibility. "We accept," she said simply, "not for glory or power, but because this is what we came to the stars to do. Humanity will continue to stand with all peaceful beings. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves. We will teach those who wish to learn. And we will never forget that peace must sometimes be defended with strength." Sofrix nodded. "You expected our silence when we first denied you membership. Instead, you gave us thunder, not of conquest but of protection. You reminded us that peace is not weakness but strength in service of all. Welcome, humanity. Welcome home." As Rodriguez took her seat among the council members, she looked out at the assembled representatives. They were no longer strangers or disty.